All right. Pop open a brewski and open up the YouTube ski. You're listening to the Bro Power Podcast. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Sam.
And so we got like a Bro Power little group chat that we just kind of usually post memes and shit in, but occasionally a conversation will happen. And we were talking about Marvel's Daredevil, and you had some problems with it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I'll let you talk first.
It was a while ago since I've actually seen season 2 or season 1, so it'll be some remembering. But I remember I really liked the first season because it started out really strong, and then season 2 started out great and then completely derailed after he met that.
And you know what? I actually really like them. Here's where we kind of diverge. You don't really care for the mystic side of Daredevil, our really mystic stuff kind of crammed into shows. I like the mystic side of Daredevil, and you were more liking the crime drama aspect. And here's what I think should have happened in season 2. And this is the same problem I had in Luke Cage, but you haven't seen that, so
No, I haven't.
I'll talk about that in a later podcast. But here's what I think should have happened in season 2. I think maybe they should have either just focused on the Punisher or just focused on the Hand, because it's kind of like weird when you got that like mid-season switch where all of a sudden it just kind of flips gears on you. So I could definitely see how that would like turn a viewer away who was following the season's flow up until that point.
Or just bring back Kingpin.
Oh my god, his fucking scene with John Berthnell was probably one of my favorites in the entire Marvel Netflix series.
Yeah, well, here's my issue with the magical, mystical stuff. I'm okay with that as long as you set up your show with that. That's not what the show was about. When the show started, there was nothing magical or anything about it. It was a show grounded...
I mean, they kind of introduced that, though, in the first season when they introduced Stick. They introduced the concept of it, and then they just further explored that in season 2.
Okay, remind me of what that is.
Stick was his mentor. Remember his blind mentor that they get around to explaining how he could see and everything? And Stick needed his help with some shit.
Okay,
but,
I do remember that
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, that's where they kind of introduced the idea to you, so you can kind of ease into it, which is what they explore further in season 2 and continue that story arc.
The only magical thing from season 1 that I really remember was just the fact that he can hear and smell and like.
I don't blame you, because it took me a minute to even think if they even had anything like that in season 1, and I had to remind myself that yes, Stick was in season 1, so. I mean, they did introduce it.
Wasn't involved though, was it?
They did introduce that part. They introduced it wasn't. They didn't throw it in your face. They just were like, "Hey, there's something coming," and they just kind of left it at that.
Yeah. Well, I liked the crime drama aspect of it. I liked the Kingpin. At first, I didn't like him because he wasn't. He didn't look like the Kingpin. He wasn't big and beefy, but. Whatever, I got used to it. I got used to
I had the same problem with John Berthnell's Punisher at first. I did not think he looked like the Punisher, but once I saw him doing his shit, I was like, all right.
I only know what Kingpin looked like because of the Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know anything about the Punisher.
Oh, and also, we were going to talk about Spider-Man. We'll talk about Spider-Man here in a second. All right.
But as far as Marvel TV shows go... Daredevil season 1 was good. Season 2 had the same problems.
Oh yeah, we didn't get around to talking about this in the chat, so this would be perfect. What was your problem with Jessica Jones?
It's boring. It is a boring show.
What did you find boring about it? I like the kind of psychological aspect. I really love David Tennant's character getting into Jessica's head. I think that's such
I watched like an episode and a half.
Yeah.
So I don't have that expansive of an opinion on that show, but I remember like just watching it, and I think in the first episode Jessica Jones and Luke Cage like hook up. I was like, that was weird. I don't know. That didn't seem necessary. I don't know why that was in there.
Here's why they did that. It's because you gotta know the source material. In the comics, Luke and Jessica are a couple, so of course they're gonna find some stupid way to hook them up in the show.
Okay, but you could have worked into it. That was like the first episode. That was one of the very first things that happened. I think the first thing that happens in that show is she walks into that shop and sees Luke Cage, and then like minutes later they're fucking. So
No, that's like episode like 2 or so that they start fucking. They break the bed.
Oh, okay. See, that probably also. See, there was something like that in Smallville about breaking. Like, it was just so dumb. It was so dumb. I couldn't stand it. You think if you're someone like Luke Cage or Jessica Jones, you'd have a stronger bed already, but.
Where would
That's
they get a
besides the
stronger bed at, though? I mean, like.
I don't know, make one. They've got strength and then bend steel. I don't know. You think you would have solved that problem by now? I feel like they would have faced that
Or
situation.
maybe that was the
before.
first. Well, that was probably the first time either of them were able to go at that level. They
Um,
probably weren't, thinking about that.
Part of the reason is just I don't like that actress.
Christian Ritter?
Yes.
I think
because
she's perfect for Jessica
the-
Jones, though.
The reason I don't like her is because I hated her character in Breaking Bad. That's the reason I don't like her. It's
dang
nothing
it,
against her. It's just her character. The first time I saw her character, I did not like her. But and she's like exactly like that character.
I will say I am pissed that wait, did you not finish Jessica Jones?
No, it was boring.
Do you mind if I spoil it?
I don't care.
I mean, they snap David Tennant's neck at the end, and I fucking hate that Marvel always kills off like the best like fucking villains and shit. I really wish they'd kept David Tennant around. I mean, I know he's returning to season 2, but like he'll only be like as like a phantom kind of like am I real or am I not real kind of thing.
And I didn't watch Luke Cage or
You didn't need to watch Luke Cage, and I bet I'm going to get a lot of hate over that, but Luke Cage is a boring character. I don't care what you say. His introduction in Jessica Jones was fine. The best part about his character is seeing him interact with other fucking characters. He doesn't need his own show. Just do like a Heroes for Hire or put him back in Jessica Jones. I don't care. He doesn't need a second season.
in Iron Fist. I watched a synopsis of what happens in the comics, and I was like, I'm not watching that. That's just stupid. Something about a fucking city in the clouds and 9 of those cities.
You really don't like the mystic side of Marvel, do you?
It was just dumb. I don't like the mystical side of any comic.
Shit, so you did. I see why you didn't care for Doctor Strange, especially.
I did not like. Doctor Strange was fine. Just the thing is, when you get stuff like that with comics, they just make stuff up as they go.
Well, yeah, they can.
They
It's
just
comics.
like make it up.
They
so,
always make shit up as
so
they
they
go.
can throw in plot devices, and the audience doesn't care.
Well, I mean, how many times do
Because
sci-fi people do that with like a super smart scientist that just creates whatever and like
That's
he's always creating shit?
And that's also stupid. I don't like that either. But just strictly speaking,
You don't like the
stuff,
stereotypes then, right?
What?
Like just like the stereotypical like what do you call them? Fucking Deus Ex Machina? That?
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of plot devices.
Machina,
Yeah, that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like those. I don't like plot devices that are just put in there. Like,
Or like MacGuffins. Is
see,
that
I
the
like
thing?
Harry Potter, but I hated Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because the entire movie of the latter was them finding a creature, and then 2 seconds later he just comes up with a random way to catch it. Like, oh, you have to put a teapot near it and it'll shrink. Like, the stupidest thing to defeat whatever situation they're in just because magic. That's the only solution. So, but that's not really the problem I have had with Daredevil. Just Daredevil, it started out as a reality-based.
So you
as
feel
much
like
as it
the
could
mystic
be.
side like kind of took away from the
Yeah,
reality I was
exactly.
set in?
Exactly. So now they have to keep. Whenever,
But I mean, you gotta remind yourself. This is also. I mean, the show establishes that it's in the same reality as Hulk and Captain America and characters that aren't really in touch with reality.
but that's not how this show was set up.
What
So,
do you mean? I
they-
mean, they
they
make
s-
references.
I know they say those things exist, but that's not where that show was grounded. And that show, entire first season was just a crime drama. They were normal people cleaning up the mess of what, or I guess, the criminals were normal people abusing the mess that the Avengers left behind, and you know, Matt something Murdock, I think.
Yeah, Matt Murdock
is a regular, quote unquote, regular guy, trying to, pick up the pieces after them. I just in any show you have to have escalation.
Yeah.
So, you go from in season 1 just a crime drama where it's just Kingpin. Then this magical, mystical stuff. Kingpin can never top that from now on. How is he going to top magic and mystical?
Like I said, from what I hear from the next season, it's gonna be pretty I think it's gonna be right up your alley.
I'm hoping
if they're adapting.
I'll give Daredevil another chance. I'm not gonna watch any other Marvel stuff.
I was about to say the story they're basing it off of. That the rumors that they're basing it off of is a very Kingpin heavy story with him being a puppet master behind a lot of shit that just goes wrong in Daredevil's life.
It just seems at this point that Marvel is pumping out these Netflix originals just to pump out Netflix originals with names like Luke Cage for the diehard comic fans that want a show about these people for some reason.
I think every time you move in that chair, it's squeaking.
That's fine. They can deal with it.
No.
Sorry guys.
You know what? I will agree with you. Like I said, I don't think Luke Cage needed his own show. I think they just made it because they were like, well, we're having the Defenders. We did one for we got to do one for each of the team members, basically. And you know what? No, you really didn't have to do one for each of the team members, especially when you already introduced Luke Cage in Jessica Jones. You really didn't need him anywhere else.
And here's the problem I see with Defenders is, once you do that, how do you go back to not doing that? The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with the Marvel movies after the Avengers was, why isn't Iron Man here fixing it? So in the next, few seasons of whatever these shows are, when Daredevil's getting the crap kicked out of him by
Here's
Kingpin,
what
why
I'll
is Iron
say.
Fist not there?
I feel like, I mean, if you watch, those of you who have watched The Defenders know what I'm talking about. If you watch it, I would say it is more believable with them that if they had a problem, they wouldn't immediately go to this person
they
because
don't like each other.
Yeah, throughout, I mean, they're working together, but you kind of at the end there is kind of a nice bond between them, but you can tell it's not like oh hey, I'll be hitting you up whenever and hanging out whenever kind of bond.
Still, if I'm getting the shit kicked out of me by Kingpin, I might call my friend with magical fists to come help me out.
And you know what? I think they might start doing inner crossovers like that, like the movies have done with Iron Man being in Homecoming. And actually, we can transition this probably over to Homecoming now because
that's just because they just want Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. But okay, so your thoughts on Homecoming? Go.
It was fine. It was okay. Just like Wonder Woman, it was average.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
I agree with that. I think I did like this story arc for Peter Parker. And I really, like I said, I love Tom Holland. I think he's the best incarnation of Peter Parker Spider-Man that we've gotten so far.
But it's not like... Spider-Man's not a hard character, so I don't know how great of an achievement that is. And he's not like a character like Batman, where you're playing two different people. Peter Parker is the same person in and out of the suit. The only difference is when he's not in the suit, people don't like him. Well, sometimes when he's in the suit, people don't like him, but we haven't seen that yet.
I'm sure we will.
I'll just start with my cons of Spider-Man: Homecoming. There's a twist that has to do with the Vulture and who he really is. I thought that was completely unnecessary, and no matter how much it surprises you or whatever, it doesn't add to the story. Whenever you have a plot twist, it has to... I feel like it has to shake the whole story.
I might disagree with you there. I think it did add to the plot a little bit because now, Spider-Man just can't, he's thinking twice about this because this is he knows this person. This is her dad. If he does this, she's not going to see her dad again. And he knows, after losing his dad and Uncle Ben, he knows, the feeling of, that figure being taken away.
But here's the thing. In the movie, they never, ever touched upon the fact that his parents are dead or that Uncle Ben is dead.
Did you want him to, though? I mean, be honest. Did you really want him to? They did touch. They did
passing.
They did mention it in passing at one point, but it wasn't very like in your face about it. But like Aunt May says, after everything that I've been going through, which implies about Uncle Ben's death and everything.
We'll touch on Aunt May because she's another con. But
the young Aunt May, I'm guessing.
Everything. The thing that bugged me about that was everything about the Vulture was working. His costume was badass. His attitude, his motivations. I loved how he already has a bone to pick with Iron Man or with Tony Stark because Tony Stark personally fucked him out of a lot of money, even though Tony Stark had no need for that money. So his motivations were good. Honestly, I think. I would have wished Spider-Man let the Vulture go.
Send him that chair.
Because honestly, Vulture, he had good reason to do what he did to Tony Stark, is all I'm saying.
I think he was a very sympathetic villain, and I think, like Michael Keaton was a really good choice for that. I think he brought a lot of, nice flair to the character.
Yeah,
I wasn't really expecting, when I heard it was Vulture, I was just kind of like, really? Vulture?
Yeah, I didn't think much of it either. So, I think he was the best thing about the movie. Other good things, the, Spider-Man personality was fine. Peter Parker personality was fine.
What do you think of Donald Glover?
He played himself just
Yeah.
that high.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. I thought it was hilarious. People thought he was Miles Morales or whatever, and he turned out to be just some random guy.
No, he wasn't a random guy. He was the uncle of Miles Morales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was an Easter egg to Miles Morales in there. That's why he says, hey, I got a nephew in these, streets that I don't want getting hurt,
So, yeah, I mean, he was fine. But Peter Parker's personality was fine. I liked that it looked like a high schooler that was 15 and not a 30-year-old who was trying to go to high school.
How did you feel about the change of Flash Thompson?
It was stupid. So you change Flash Thompson into a small, nerdy Indian boy, it's just weird. It's opposite of everything Flash Thompson was.
Weirdly enough,
I don't care his skin color. That's not.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say.
About.
Weirdly enough, I think it worked for the movie, but I agree with you. I really don't understand that choice. I really don't.
Flash Thompson is a big guy.
He's a big guy. Typical jock. That's what he's supposed to be. I feel like they were just trying to make a statement with that, and it feels like a very forced statement that doesn't need to be there. I wasn't bothered by it. I'll say that. I wasn't bothered by it in the film. I think his version of Flash worked for what they were doing with Spider-Man. I just don't think it was needed. I don't fully understand it.
They could have had that character and named him something that wasn't Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
And saved Flash Thompson for.
They could have very much. They could have had Parker's got no rest wherever. He's bullied by Flash and he's bullied by this other kid now too.
That was stupid. But I'm trying to think of other pros.
Pros for me, it's just acknowledging that, just seeing crossovers now, just seeing Iron Man in there. It's just like we were talking about, why wouldn't I, call up this friend or something like that,
Kind of. He was. I think there were a lot of reasons Iron Man was in there. I don't think the story was one of them. I think Robert Downey Jr. being in that film probably was to push ticket sales. Because he's a very expensive actor to have in your film. So there's definitely a reason you're having him in there. Spider-Man needed a suit. And since they basically now just have Iron Man make everyone's suits. Which is
What do you think of the spider suit, by the way?
It's fine. I don't really care about it, to be honest.
I thought it was cool.
I don't really care what the suit looks like. It's it's whatever. It's the guy in the suit.
Yeah.
Unless you have a real suit catastrophe like 90s Batman with the nipples or whatever. But as long as, it looks like the costume designer actually put some actual work into it, then yeah, it's fine. I don't really care what the suit looks like. I wish he had put on his other suit at the end of the movie. That would have been cool.
No, the Scarlet Spider suit, yeah.
That was gonna be his
But
Avenger suit.
I mean, he's gonna wear it in Infinity War, so I mean, you're gonna see him in it. So.
My cons of the movie were Spider-Man didn't feel powerful. He felt really weak. He felt like he was a loser and anyone could beat him. The Vulture kicked his ass like 10 times in the movie. It was sad.
It was supposed to though. This was like his first like big solo fight. He wasn't used to this. This is his first time going in. Of course, he's gonna get his ass kicked. He doesn't know what he's doing.
The Vulture's never fought anyone like Spider-Man. He's only. I mean, who has the Vulture fought at that point except stealing stuff?
I mean, I'm sure he's had a couple of run-ins, and I'm sure like he's an adult. I mean, he could have picked that up anywhere.
Spider-Man.
It's also a child with Spider-Man's powers who doesn't know how to exactly use Spider-Man's powers.
So the entire time he felt weak. The entire time I was on Tony Stark's side, like, yeah, he shouldn't be out there. He's just causing problems. He destroyed everything. Even at the end, yeah, he saved the stuff in the plane, but the plane got destroyed. And who knows who could have died being on that beach.
They're just trying to, show you that, like, the heroes are doing damage, and you can kind of start to see why the public's outcry is going to start, being against them and shit.
Just at the end of the movie, I didn't feel like Spider-Man saved the day. Because how much did that plane cost?
Billions. Well, I mean, but how much did the stuff in the plane
He was
cost?
only going to take one box and get out. He wasn't going to kill anyone. He wasn't going to do anything. He was going to take that one box.
But stealing's wrong.
Him and his family and his daughter would have been well off for the rest of their lives.
Shit, Spider-Man's the villain.
He wouldn't have stolen anything ever again. So you have to weigh which option was better. In my opinion, Spider-Man made the worst decision out of the two. He made the really bad decision. Because he's now painted a target on himself. He's painted a target on Aunt May. He's painted a target on Ned. He's painted a target on everyone close to him because the Vulture's still alive and knows who he is. And he said, I'm going to kill you and everything you care about. Well, guess what? You can start with Aunt May because she's weak. And,
I mean, it's like a very Spider-Man thing to do, though, Like, always gotta do what's right.
Yeah, I get that. He's a naive kid, but at the end of the movie, I didn't feel like...
I feel like that may have been what you were supposed to feel like. With how they were pushing Vulture, I feel like you were kind of supposed to feel like, did he really win? Did anyone really win here? I think that's kind of what you were supposed to take away from that. With just how they were playing Michael Keaton's character throughout the entire movie.
But one of my biggest pet peeves, since we're talking about May, with Spider-Man was Aunt May. She is too young. She was over-sexualized. That's just weird. That's just weird for me to see Aunt May portrayed that way, where she's there to have horny young teenage boys look at her.
I feel like it works because Peter's in high school, and like when he gets older and becomes Spider-Man, that's when you see the really old Aunt May. But he's not older yet, so of course she's still really young.
Spider-Man I remember from the comic books. I barely read any of the comics, but Aunt May was like old as shit by the time he was like 25. So I don't see her being looking like she's 20, like she's 25. And then suddenly looking like she's 60 10 years later.
Maybe they'll retcon it in the future. You know how comic movies do.
Yeah. But
fucking looking at you, Terrence Howard and fucking... Who did they fucking replace? Don Cheadle?
Yeah. But Aunt May, like... She could have been Aunt May without doing some of the weird stuff she did. She talks to Peter once, and she like bites her lip. It's the weirdest thing I've seen in a Spider-Man movie. I never thought I'd see Aunt May bite her lip.
No. The very end, the very last line of the movie was very not Aunt May to me at all. Remember when she was just like, she sees Spider-Man and she's like, what the fuck? I mean, it was funny, but it was like, that doesn't seem like Aunt May. Like, yeah, what the fuck?
Aunt May's supposed to be old. Peter feels like he needs to protect her because she's so old and fragile. And, And also, okay, now that I'm thinking about it, another problem with Spider-Man is he has been in the ring for 2 seconds, and the first villain he comes across knows exactly who he is. This is my problem with Marvel movies. Is all the
That's
villains,
my no, that's my problem with fucking Arrow and Flash. Is like every new person that comes on the show, it's just like, oh god, Barry, don't do it, and Barry's always like, hey, I'm the Flash. It's just like, why do you tell everyone you fucking meet? Why?
See, that's different. I'll get to that in a second because there's other problems with that. But the problem with Marvel is every villain knows the hero. All of them. Iron Man straight out said it, but that's his character.
I was about to say, I mean, most of the heroes aren't hiding, save for Spider-Man and Daredevil.
Which, Spider-Man, the first villain he runs into, already knows who he is. So...
It took him, I mean, he didn't know it like that. It took him a moment, but...
Okay, it took him a moment. I mean, the evidence was glaring. He didn't have to be who he was to figure it out. Like, he could have been... any guy that was like, oh, hey...
I mean, Peter made it pretty obvious
the way
on himself.
Spider-Man talks, he seems like a high schooler. I'll check out high schools in the area, you know, and if you were really going into it, like, you would see events, you would look at Washington, you'd be like, oh, what's going on here? You'd see that decathlon or whatever, and then you'd backtrack and be like, oh, that's weird. Who was there? Who wasn't there? You know, like, the whole team was there, and you see Peter Parker in the team picture or whatever, and then he's suddenly not there with everybody else who got saved. Like, it's not like he's careful about it. In fact, anybody that's in that class and doesn't already know
I feel like this is
really
again, though,
retarded.
they're trying to show you that, you know, he's a young, naive boy. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and that's why he needs all this guidance. Because he's reckless.
Anyone else in that class that doesn't know he's Spider-Man is stupid. And they're like the smartest kids in the school going to that decathlon or whatever. And they don't pick up on the fact that, oh, at the party we were all at, Peter wasn't there. But Spider-Man was going to show up. You know, Ned yelled to everybody, Peter knows Spider-Man. Every time Peter's not there, Spider-Man is. You'd think someone would put two and two together. It's not like...
What, like Clark Kent and Superman?
See, Lois knows.
Or what about Bruce Wayne and fucking The Dark Knight Rises? Bruce Wayne and Batman.
The fact that they both died at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of The Dark Knight Rises. The fact that they both went quiet after The Dark Knight, both Batman and Bruce Wayne just went quiet, and then they both died during the same event. Yeah, you might...
I mean, they both reappeared around the same time too, right?
What do you mean?
Yeah. When Bruce Wayne comes back.
Yeah, when Bruce Wayne goes to that party, everybody's like, oh, he's back, and then 2 seconds later, he's chasing people on a motorbike. So yeah, people would put two and two together, but that's a different thing. If we're just focusing on Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, those people are completely different people. Like, I don't know if you've heard about the CEO of Uber, how he's, you know, batshit. He recently resigned, but he was getting in a lot of scandals, especially with women recently. So people are like, you know, the board wanted him off. It's like that person being Batman. They're two different people. You would never, ever guess it until maybe Dark Knight Rises, but we're omitting that for now. In Spider-Man, it's like it's so obvious who it is. Like, oh, I have a internship with
I feel
Tony
like they
Stark.
will address this like later on though.
I have an internship with Tony Stark, and then Iron Man and Spider-Man are hanging out together. Everybody knows who Iron Man is. Like, it wouldn't take a genius to figure it out.
I'll tell you what my problem was. Shouldn't Spider-Man be in jail? Because technically he didn't sign the Sokovia Accords, I believe. And when Tony recruited him, wasn't that illegal?
Well, Tony recruited him on the side of his side, so he wouldn't arrest him anyways.
Still, he should probably be arrested after all the fiascos that happened in, like, Homecoming.
I have a feeling Tony Stark...
Can we talk about the lack of security at Damage Control, by the way? I found that really glaring.
Yeah, there was nobody in that room.
No cameras, no nothing, and one of the, like, room with probably some of the most dangerous shit on the planet. You got no one looking after that shit at all.
And someone has to know someone's stealing all that crap.
Mm-hmm. But, like Michael Keane's character said he'd been doing it for, like, 8 years. Never had a run-in with Stark, never had a run-in with Damage Control. Shield agents,
See,
nothing.
when he said that, I felt like there was a reason that line was put in, like as if Stark Industries was buying the stuff that he was making, like that weird ass gun that Agent Coulson used on Loki. I guess that would have been before he started it, but stuff like that.
Another glaring issue was that I don't know the 8 years later jump really fucks up the entire timeline of the MCU. I don't know if you're aware of that, but like it fucks with everything else in the timeline. I think it was just an oversight, but like there's no possible way that like Homecoming takes place 8 years later after the Avengers.
Why?
Because that would put it in 2017, but it makes it feel like Civil War just happened, and Civil War takes place in 2016.
Yeah. I
So
don't know
Homecoming should still take place in 2016. But they address it as if it's taking place in 2017, which kind of throws everything else out of alignment.
I don't know about none of that. I just know Spider-Man Homecoming was average. Amazing Spider-Man, its predecessors were dog shit. So, I mean, it's a step up from trash.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a huge step up. It's a step up. I would like to see them do something better next time around. I feel like this was just a very like timid, average. We got Spider-Man. Here's your guys' film. He's in the MCU. Let's keep going. I feel like that's all this was.
I just wish the stories were more thought out. I wish they were deeper.
Well, this was probably a very rushed project because originally they didn't have this in the lineup at all for the phase 2 plan or the phase 3 plans at all. Like there was no sign of a Spider-Man movie, and then when this got pushed in, like Inhumans got pushed out, and everything got fucking shuffled around. So this was all probably very last minute shit.
And they gotta quit rushing these superhero movies then, because I mean the only I've seen plenty of good superhero movies, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, but I have not seen a really great one since The Dark Knight. There's not been a great superhero movie from either side, from DC or Marvel, because they're just trying to pump it out as fast as possible now.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say I haven't really seen one that's made me believe that it was actually taking place in our world as much as The Dark Knight did.
And it's fine if it doesn't feel like it's taking place in the world. It just, the story needs to be a little more thought out, a little deeper than here's a good guy, here's a bad guy. They're fighting because they're a good guy and bad guy.
Homecoming felt like a first draft to me of a script, not a finalized product. It felt like, they just had the first draft. They were like, you know what, it's good enough. We'll do it.
Yeah, hopefully they come up with better stuff in the future. Infinity War, not going to see when it comes out. Probably wait a while before I see it.
I love Marvel, kind of turning into a Marvel fanboy over here, so I'm definitely going to go see it when it comes out.
Justice League.
I'll go see that when it comes out.
I am torn on Justice League because my mind knows that it's going to be a complete mess. I know there's going to be shit because Zack Snyder does not make good stories. He makes flashy fight scenes.
Josh Whedon's been doing a shit ton of reshoots.
And that's fine, but you gotta understand that these are people of completely different perspectives on how to make a superhero movie. And
which is why
one has almost entirely made his movie, and the other's scrapping up something out of it. So it might even be worse of a mess than what Zack Snyder was gonna finish with. I feel bad for saying this because of the circumstances of his exit, but I'm glad Zack Snyder's gone from the creative process of DC.
I stand by this because you know what I think Zack Snyder is a great visionary director. I think a lot of his visuals. I like his visuals. They look very comic booky, and I like that. But like you said, he doesn't do stories.
There's no substance to his Flash. He needs to go away. He needs to be gone.
I hope Josh Whedon doesn't just make it basically the Avengers, though. I hope they kind of keep some of the tone they were going with.
I think Aquaman is going to be the comedic, not Thor. He's going to be because Thor's not really that funny. Thor's funny because he's stupid. But I don't think Aquaman's going to be like that. I think Thor's going to be funny because he's just a funny guy. He seems that way, like a carefree guy. So I think Aquaman and Flash are going to be Josh Whedon's comedic, lightheartedness that he can pump into the film. I hope he doesn't screw up.
I'm not a fan of Ezra Miller's Flash suit, but I am kind of interested to see what he brings to the character.
Yeah, I mean,
he wouldn't be my first choice for the Flash, but I'll hold my reservations.
Their casting has been good. DC's casting has been good so far.
I will say all their casting has been good.
Henry Cavill.
I think Jesse Eisenberg could have done a good Lex Luthor if he didn't do that Joker-like Lex Luthor. If he had just stuck to a cold, calculating Lex Luthor.
Yeah, we won't even get into that. I'll go all day on that. Really wish Bryan Cranston had been Lex Luthor. He would have been a lot older, but he would have been bad.
Yeah, I feel like he would have been too old though. Is just the thing about it.
Would have been better than Eisenberg. I heard that Leonardo DiCaprio. I was like, no, he's not gonna do that for a few reasons. Leo has never done a franchise film, for one of them, and he doesn't. I don't think he'd look good bald. I don't know. He can do anything, so maybe he could. But yeah, Justice League I feel like is gonna be a mess. Infinity War's just. It's gonna be too much at this point. There's so much going on that there's too much to keep track of, and there's no special feeling with Marvel anymore. They did their stuff. Avengers was a huge hit because it was like the first movie of its kind, but that's done. There's no like surprises with them anymore. There's no. Where do you go from here? They can't escalate it any further. Just add more people and hope and have bigger villains, and at some point that's gonna die.
I believe there's only two things I think that can top this, and I think they're moving with one of them. And that is the Secret Invasion, where the Skrulls, shape-shifting race, have infiltrated like Earth and taken over like key political figures, superheroes and everything, and like you don't know who's a Skrull and who's not, and they like break down society and everything, and there's a big war about it. And I think that's the only way they can go with that. And the Skrulls are being introduced in Captain Marvel, so a lot of people are thinking that's what Phase 4 is going to be all about. And then there's also the Beyonder, which is this, from what I understand, which is the character, this alien that captured all these different heroes and villains and forced them to battle on this planet with each other.
Now imagine never reading the comics and trying to keep track of all that.
I see your point.
That's what I'm saying. There's too much going on in this now. There's too much going on in this universe.
Well, it's become a comic. It has become a true comic book universe.
Exactly, and it's going to lose the public because of it. I think superhero movies are dying, actually.
They're like, I would say they're like the fucking like 90s action trend or the 50s B monster movie trend. That's what society's trend is right now. It's all superhero shit.
Westerns. And 60s. I don't know. But yeah, they're dying. I guess Logan was a pretty good superhero film now. I'm thinking about it. It was a bit goofy though. The clone of Wolverine.
I didn't really feel like a Wolverine film though. To be perfectly honest, it was a good horror like film.
It wasn't supposed to be.
I mean, yeah, I guess it wasn't called Wolverine. It was called Logan.
It was more about character than about.
I did enjoy it though. I'm interested to see how the black and white version of that one looks. I kind of want to check that version out.
I'm kind of dying down on superhero films. I remember when I was stoked for Batman v Superman, and it turned out to be a disappointment. I was cautious with Suicide Squad, and even that, that tanked my expectations of any superhero film after that. So I think superhero films from now on just I'm not gonna have any expectations.
I feel like a lot of the public shares your opinion on that. Especially,
It's
yeah.
so bad.
All right, well, we should probably wrap the podcast up because we're almost at like 40 minutes here. But thank you, anyone who stayed and listened with us. Just let us know your thoughts on all this superhero shit in the comics or in the comments or whatever. So, yeah, I'm Caleb.
I'm Sam.
Take it easy.